So I'm going to speak into the microphone, and fingers crossed, it sounds pretty good. I mean, it's certainly picking up a signal. Okay, motherfucker.
Right. Shotgun? Check. Smoke grenades? Check. Rabid My Little Pony repellent? Double check. It's the 5 games for Doomsday Expeditions.
So here I am, Liverpool South Parkway Station. I've had to board the train on the way to Birmingham for the UK Games Expo. I've just arrived from Berlin, and what I found really interesting, well, firstly, you can see that Brexit is underway. So I had to show my passport when I left. I had to go to a different thing and show my passport. That doesn't usually happen. When I arrived in England, they changed the arrivals hall to the immigration hall, which was rather unsettling. Just, you see subtle changes in nomenclature, which Britain has always had a sort of faux martial attitude to things, but you walk in, it's very different to Germany, in that Germany feels more open when you arrive in the country. Of course, there are people who look at your passports and so on and so forth, but you arrive in what is now the immigration hall in Britain. There are big signs saying UK border, UK border, UK border. The people who are in charge of admitting you, that run that whole thing, are called the border force. This sort of mock military nomenclature that adds this sort of, you are not welcome here. This is a military thing. We do not want you here. And it's not overtly strong, but and especially they've removed all of the automatic passport machines from the arrivals lounge now, and so it kind of feels a bit more that you have to work more to get in, which is ostensibly less welcoming. While on the other hand, it's interesting that the British, so how do I put this? British officialdom at the moment seems to be very keen to separate, to have strong borders, to say no, whereas British people just get along with it. I mean, the guy who I showed my passport to when I was coming in had a chat with me. I mean, that doesn't happen in Germany. They look very stern, and they only look at you in the eyes to check. They won't engage with you, and they silently hand their passport back. Whereas here, the guy was like, "Oh, were you related to those people going through?" And I was like, "No." Da, 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 da. And it's so interesting that what I'm always surprised about is the discrepancy between British people and the Britain you read in the newspapers. And it's I guess, a sort of hobby horse I've been into a lot recently, in that I think it's important to recognise that people can have certain ideas and yet can be good people. They can hold certain ideas that seemingly are at odds with the notion of them being good, but actually most of us are just scrabbling through, trying to get through life day by day and be comfortable enough, and so it's kind of interesting that on one hand Britain seems to be shoring up the borders, building up the walls, whereas the people don't seem at all amenable to that. I was always fascinated when there were school exchanges by the people who came from Europe. I was never deterred or angered by them, and I think most people aren't in general. And this is kind of why Brexit is such a tragedy. I mean, a modern tragedy that it's ghettoization. And it's when the internet, technology, banking, business is compelling us to be more outward looking, to embrace more difference and to learn from it. The great vindication of multiculturalism is a curry shop on every corner, and people opening their eyes to meditation. And Brexit is seeking to crush that. People like Farage, for their own miserable gain, are seeking to crush that. And it's a tragedy. It's tragic. And I never thought I'd live to see it happen. And hopefully the worst excesses can be arrested. Anyway, that's my thoughts on board games at the UK Games Expo. So I'm going to hang around now for a couple of hours, because being the rural person that I am, I made sure that if my plane was delayed, I wouldn't miss my train to Birmingham. So I've got to sit around for 2 hours while I wait for my train, but that's fine. I'm going to grab a coffee and watch a YouTube video, and I'll check back in with some people when I'm actually in Brum. UK Games Expo, ahoy! So I've just arrived. I'm at the rather salubrious Berlin Airport Ibis, surrounded by steel buildings and weirdness. And I'm here with the undisputed king of being offensive to Germans, Uli Blennemann from Spielworks. Uli, welcome to Britain.
Yeah, well, I love it. I love it here. If you are at an Ibis hotel, you know where you are. You're in deep shit. Every Ibis looking the same. It's simply fantastic.
It's not a very unique experience, is it?
It isn't. It isn't. Others are. It's a Hilton here at this convention. But somebody has to be at this place.
Well, I stayed at the Hilton last year. And it was fine. I mean, nothing special though. This is about the same, you know what I mean? Mind you, I'm not a hotel guy, I'm a tent guy.
Yeah.
I like the outdoors.
Yes.
But they don't let you camp in the car park at the airport.
That's a huge problem here. Yeah.
So what are you at the UK Games Expo for?
Basically, British wine, British beer.
British wine?
Yes.
Are you... I mean, you sound drunk. I mean, you must be... I mean, you've got to be really drunk to try British wine.
No, really, I'm here. This is basically marketing for me.
Okay. Do you have a stand?
No, I don't, and this will definitely not be appropriate. And this is my first UK Expo, so I'm not 100% sure what will happen in the coming days. But I can show some prototypes, and I will have, of course, some talks with other companies. And this is, for me, most important. And if it is correct, we now have 17,000 unique people here in 3 days. And this is, of course, an amazing number.
And so, I mean, for Spielworks, why? Because you've been to Gen Con, obviously you go to Essen every year and you have a stand at Essen. But why the English cons? I mean, Spielworks is a solely German company, really.
But for me, the English language customers are way more important than German language customers. So I have more. So, of course, I love the Germans. But in numbers, the English language speaking customers are more important for me. And in contrast to the US, I can reach Birmingham fairly easily and fairly cheaply. And it's just a 1 hour time distance, distance difference. Whereas most of the time when I'm traveling to the US, I'm fatigued anyway.
And so what are you expecting from the UK Games Expo?
Maybe making a few new contacts, and that's about it. So basically I don't have huge expectations. I want to see it, I want to feel it. Maybe I'm taking this into my yearly routine because it's inexpensive and I'm reaching a lot of people, but maybe not.
And so, 2 more questions. Firstly, who's going to win the Champions League on Saturday?
Tottenham, of course.
Secondly, have you ever been stabbed?
Not yet, but in my opinion, Harry Kane is a really great guy.
You don't prefer Mo Salah?
Not really.
Uli Blennerman? I would say thank you, but I don't mean it. So here I am, Ibis Styles, UK Games Expo, Thursday night. Very exciting. With, you're going to have to remind me of your name again?
Paul Mulders.
Paul Mulders from The X-Files and Quinid Games. So what are you doing at the UK Games Expo?
There's a UK Games Expo.
That's right. Are you just here chilling out for a 2-week holiday?
I just met him here and I was, something's going on. And I see all these people playing board games. I didn't know...
Yeah, no, apparently there's there's like a convention here, I've heard.
Oh, yeah, we have a booth there. Yeah, we built it today.
Is this dry Dutch sense of humour?
I'm trying to blend in with the English.
So what are Quinid Games doing at the expo?
Oh, we're selling some of our games. And we're also demoing some of the new stuff. Some pre-Essen release stuff.
Also, what's coming out at Essen then?
Oh, we have La Stanza, which is a game by Nuno Centero, Paulo Soledad.
Oh, unfortunately, I know both of them.
Oh, that's a
yeah. I spent altogether too much time with them.
Yeah, like a few months ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I wish I was there, but I
well, next time, come, because you can listen to Uli Blennerman sing non-stop.
No. Well, if Uli if Uli is there, I'll probably skip.
And so, what is the UK market for Quinid Games? Is this a new thing? Is this an exploratory thing?
Do you do well here? We have distribution here, but well, I felt like this is a nice venue. Let's go check it out. That's actually the thing.
And so, I mean, Quinid Games are interesting because the components are always very striking. Why? Why do you go for these overblown productions?
I think that's one of our unique selling points, I'd say, because we like to play luxurious games. If something is flimsy, I feel like, it doesn't really feel like playing. It enhances the experience of the game as well.
And so what's the market like in Holland? Because the only sort of internationally kind of famous people before you, I guess, was the Splatterspellen guy.
Spotters, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's it like in Holland? Are there lots of games there?
No, not that much. That's a bit of a thing. We don't focus really that much on the Dutch market. We focus on the international market more. Yes, there's Dutch rules in our games, but you know, that's because we're a Dutch company, so we can't skip on that. If we could, we would. No.
Fuck Holland.
Yeah, fuck them all 70 million.
Apart from Virgil van Dijk, he's the greatest Dutchman who's ever lived.
Yeah, and some other people as well. But
did you just say Geert Wilders then?
No, and some other people as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, god damn it. I may be from the same province, but I don't support his
Quinid Games.
But we have a new...
Supported by Geert Wilders. You heard it first here.
No. That's all lies. But we focus mainly on the international market, and the Dutch market is quite small. There's 2 really large publishers that are really into the new board games, and they mostly do licensing deals with big German companies or other hit games from abroad. They just translate them into Dutch, and that's their thing. So they focus only on the Dutch, Belgian market.
And do you license games, or do you develop and publish all your own games?
Sometimes we license games, but then we want to license them internationally.
Right.
And so that's always a thing. And mostly we get a prototype, we test it. If it's a thing, then if it's a yes, we start developing. Yeah, and then we build it from there. So it goes from scratch, actually.
Brilliant.
So, yeah.
Well, who do you think is going to win the Champions League on Saturday?
That's a bad question to ask me because I don't know shit about ice hockey.
So Liverpool is the correct answer. Very good.
Tottenham, Harry Kane is the man.
And so Fox Mulder from Quinned Games, thank you very much. Ibis Styles, hopefully no interruptions from drunken Germans. I'm here with the doyen, the greatest living English board game designer. Martin Wallace doesn't exist in this world. It's Tony Boydell. Tony!
Hello, can you please tell me what doyen means?
It means sort of, I don't know, big matron figure, doesn't it?
Oh, matron,
sort of,
that sounds great.
You're the proverbial fat lady in the opera.
Oh, I love it. I'll take that.
So it seems to be the year of Boydell, right? You've got Foothills, you've got Alubari, you've got Wards of London.
Yeah, well, it's sort of spread out over the year. So we've got Foothills at the Expo over the next few days, although I'm not expecting it to last on our shelves much beyond about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. But yeah, Alubari's coming out at Spiel, and apparently it's going to have a big stand all of its own. Ooh. There's news coming out about it, which I can't say anything about at the moment, but everybody will find out in the next couple of days anyway. But yeah, the idea of having an entire stand with chai tea and elephants and real live elephants.
What's the deal? Will you be at your booth or will you be at
No, we'll be at our booth, but we'll have Snowdonia Deluxe to sell, and we've got a couple of games we're doing ourselves this year as well. So it's really busy.
Is this the most you've sort of had board gaming wise in your career?
Yes, it's all kind of come to a head. I mean, we've not been unused to delays over the last few years, but it's fortuitously it's one of those years. I mean, I guess most designers seem to get that experience. You get a year where every other stand seems to have so-and-so's game, so this year it's my year, so I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, amazing. So why are you at the Expo? I mean, obviously you're here with Surprise Stare.
Yeah.
Is there anything extending past Surprise Stare, any reason?
Well, it's you guys, isn't it? It's the socialisation. I love, it's what I do at Essen as well. It's pretty much, you get through the day, you smile, you do all the demoing, you try and sell the bits and pieces off the stand. Luckily this year we've got Foothills to sell off the stand. If we didn't have that, it would be quite a difficult year for us, because this is a bloody expensive hotel.
I mean, it seemed last year was quite difficult too, right?
Yeah.
With because you had North American Railways, but it didn't do gangbusters, right?
It didn't do gangbusters. It did all right. We had Cousins War from the previous year, so we had bits of... Yeah, we just kind of dribbled along. Because of delays in other things, it's sort of meant we've been hanging on by our fingertips. But it doesn't matter. This year will be really, really exciting and good. And
I mean, how does it stand? So you work with Matago on Alubari, you work with NSKN, they're not called that anymore, are they? On Snowdonia. How does that feed back into Surprise Stare?
It depends, because some of the stuff isn't Surprise Stare work, if you like. It's the kind of stuff that's never even passed the doorstep of Surprise Stare. Right. It's kind of personal projects.
Which is weird, as it's your home.
Yeah, but I mean, Surprise Stare isn't just me. It's me and Alan and Charlie, and, predominantly, and they do an awful lot of stuff. But I tend to, because they're now on the other side of the country, we tend to not meet up that often. So I tend to develop things completely, so almost in isolation to them. And we meet up a couple of times a year at the big shows, and I show them what I've done, and in some cases I show them what I've done, and it's kind of already sold. So
I mean, is there a kind of idea that you have that you would say this is a Surprise Stare idea as opposed to I'll pitch it to other people, thematic-wise, character-wise?
Not really. I mean, most of the stuff that I've done up until, and including Snowdonia and Ivor the Engine and Guilds, all of the money, all the royalties from my perspective have gone back in the company.
Right.
So, and occasionally I'll just say, do you know what? The bathroom really does need an overhaul, so I'm going to take the royalties on this one. Thank you very much. But, I try and sort of engineer the contracts so that, for instance, we get production copies of the game, so we can sell it exclusively. So the Surprise Stare will make a profit because it's selling copies at the show and no one else is. And I'm getting a few royalties here and there. But most of the time it is Surprise Stare, and it's keeping Surprise Stare going. It's just occasionally I do need to kind of get that shed sorted, or the bathroom literally does need retiling.
Well, what happens if? I mean, what would happen if, I don't know, say for instance, Alubari did a tenth of a sort of Ticket to Ride business, so it was hugely successful. What happens then? I mean, do you ever envisage a time if you had a big hit that you just say, right, fuck this, I'm just going to be a game designer now?
I don't think, my career plan is not to be a full-time game designer.
For what reason?
Because I've got too many other things I'm interested in as well. I read a lot, and I like, literature, movies and music.
I mean, do you think doing it full-time would queer it for you?
I think it would spoil it for me, yeah. I think there are occasions when I'll sort of try and sort out some layouts of cards or a board or something and spend an entire Saturday afternoon on it, and I'll look back and think, oh, bollocks, I could have spent the afternoon doing Lego with Arthur or going for a walk with a dog or something. Just do something that has a little bit more life value to it, But I'd never say never, see what happens. But if we had a massive hit, I don't think it would change my view of Surprise Stare, that I would put as much into it as possible. I relish it as a part of my life. It's as much a part of my life as the family and the car and the job and everything else. It's a compartment. I would never sort of think, oh, big money over there, and then just dump it with a moment, without a moment's thought. I'm too loyal for that.
And so, who's going to win the Champions League on Saturday?
Liverpool.
I think that's the correct answer.
Of course, it's the correct answer. I'm not a massive footballer fan. I do watch the big matches, but one thing has been a constant in my life is my love of Liverpool.
Yeah.
I remember my grandparents had a little cafe in Risky. Italian grandparents had a little cafe. My uncle collected football cards, and he always gave me the doubles, and I only ever wanted the Liverpool doubles with their blood red football kit.
Yeah.
We're talking mid to late 70s now. John Toshak and
Kevin Keegan.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's something about them, Liverpool. And then I was at college in Liverpool. I was there for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's a special place. It's populated by wonderful people. And Liverpool's always been my team.
Resolutely non-Brexit Liverpool as well.
Yeah, they hate the sun and they hate the Tories.
Absolutely.
What could you ask for?
It's an oasis.
Yes, I'm sold.
Hopefully when Scotland leaves, Liverpool will go with it.
Exactly, yeah, they'll sail it up past the Isle of Man, up to the Outer Hebrides. All right there, mates.
Well, Tony Boydell, thank you very much. I'm
Bless
sure
you.
we'll speak over the weekend.
Indeed.
So, UK Games Expo, Bland Chain Hotel, world famous designer of Anachrony, the Budapest game, Dice Settlers, and the new one, Roman Roll. It's David Terzi. David, how's it going?
Great. I'm only partially completely tired yet.
Well, I mean, the con hasn't started yet, so you should be at least half exhausted.
Exactly.
So firstly, what does the UK Games Expo feel like your home con?
In a way, yes, because it's only 2 hours away. I mean, there are smaller cons that are like mostly gaming and not exhibiting cons that I feel more at home. But out of the big exhibition cons, this is certainly my backyard, if you will.
And what's it like? I mean, how would you rate? I mean, I assume you've been to most of the big cons.
Surprisingly, no. I've been to Essen a billion times, and I've been to Gen Con once, going back again this year. I haven't been to Origins, I haven't been to PAX.
I mean, out of the ones, so you've been to the biggest two.
Yes.
I mean, how does the UK Games Expo
It's
compare?
more fun than Essen.
Right?
Essen is the pinnacle of networking.
Okay.
But if I wasn't an exhibitor, I might have stopped going by now, or as in, I've seen all the things I want to see in Essen. My yearly shopping in Essen takes about an hour and a half.
Right.
And after that, if I was not somebody going there to meet my industry mates or work or demo it to the public that care about me, then I could live without that. Compared to that, Expo is a lot of fun. Back in the old days, 3 years ago, when I still had free time, I loved hanging out in the Hilton. I loved go. This year, all the fun I can afford myself is go to one comedy show just to have a hearty laugh on Saturday evening.
I mean, does it feel like a gaming con? A con to play games?
Well, compared to Essen, definitely yes.
Right.
If I want to play games as me, then I'd rather just go into a hotel with somewhere between 20 to 100 of my friends
Right.
and play a game over the weekend. But as a nice compromise between a big enough to have industry value, a big enough that enough people care and come that it's worth getting eyeballs on your games, yet small enough that I don't go insane by the end of hour 2, I feel that the expo is near or almost at its sweet spot.
So the last time we spoke was about a year ago, and it was when you were just going pro.
Yes, that was a year and a half ago when I went pro.
And how's it been going?
Well, obviously I'm building my 3rd swimming pool and my 4th helipad.
Of course you are.
As we all. It's been great. I have basically fallen into the good old trap of do what you love, and then you will never be able to do anything in your free time because you want to keep doing what you love.
Right.
These days I work for 3 publishers part-time, I think is the official semi-full-time.
Yeah.
And consult with about 3 or 4 more publishers. When I have a game design idea, then before I sit down and start working, I immediately call up one of these 7 people saying, hey, I got this idea, you're the one that would like this the most, I think. If I start working on it, which year do you want to publish it in?
Right.
And then they say 2021, and then I'm like,
So,
okay.
so you don't have the pitching issue
I
anymore?
bloody hate the pitching. I have one game that I have failed to pitch for the past 2 or 3 years, not because it's a bad game, but because it's too unusual,
Right.
and they can't pigeonhole it. And I've been with my co-designer David Mortimer, whom you might know, we've been going around and, okay, let's change this in the game a little bit so that the publisher understands what we're trying to do. Oh, that's too punishing, so let's bring it that down closer to Euro. And it's frustrating because I'm almost used to not doing pitching.
Right.
It's more like a meeting with the publisher on what can I do for you, and not, hey, do you like this game? So
And so, I mean, you seem to be, I'm looking here with Roman Roll. This is done with Nick Shaw, who did Nog in the Nog, I believe, right?
I don't know. He did, well, I know him, he volunteered for me as a solo playtester many years ago.
Right.
I think on Petrichor, but it might have been Knights of Fire.
And so you're working with a lot of other designers.
Yes, that's my thing.
Is this an intention?
Yes, it is. I have a list. I have a list of people that go on that I want to go design a game with them, and there are people that come off that list, and I'm not going to mention them because I'm a nice person. But yes, some co-designers like Nick are friends of mine that we have a common idea and we come up with something, and the other kind of co-designer are the people that are more famous than me, and I co-design with them to learn from them, to get exposure from them, to say that I've designed the game with them.
I mean, you designed an expansion for
Tashkalar with Vlada Schwartel.
Was that with Vlada Schwartel?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I approached him with my idea. He said it's a great idea, but it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Am I okay with him tweaking it? I was like, sure, but can we do it together? I want to learn from you. And the man is brutal. It's like, your idea is good, but it's actually terrible, and this is how you do it well.
Right.
And I'm like, at the moment you started saying the sentence, I realized how it should be done, and of course you're correct.
Yeah.
So he's a lovely person, he's polite almost to a fault, but he's brutal about his perfectionism.
And so what language do you speak in?
English, he speaks very good English, yeah.
Yeah, but
Czech and Hungarian are nothing alike, just because we're 2 hours drive from each other.
You're next to each other, you must
No.
So, I mean,
I did play the Central European card because they mostly publish, apart from Tolkien, every other game they published was from a Czech, a Polish, or a Slovakian, or Croatian in case of Filip Neduk, Adrenaline. Whereas I, in their eyes, I'm a UK designer, so I did play, but I'm actually from Central Europe, so you should talk to me. But since then, and since doing the Tricarian expansion with Victor and Richard, who are the leads of Mindclash, many people think I designed Tricarian. I did not design Tricarian. I designed the Dalgard's Academy, the biggest of the 3 expansions for Tricarian, and I worked on the 3rd one with them, but that was Victor's idea. Since then, I was like, I love working with other people. I want to work with other people more. I don't just want to do their expansions. I want to design new games with them. So I did a game with Daniel Tashini of the Tolkien and Teotihuacan. And despite what other people think, I did not design Tolkien. I got that as well.
Really?
Really? I'm like, that's Simon Luciani, not me. So I've done a game with Daniel Tashini, which is coming from Boards and Dice next year. And at this point, this is how much I'm authorized to reveal. Okay, I'll say one more thing. There is at least one thing going around.
Okay.
And I insisted on it. So then I did a game last year with John Gilmore.
Yeah.
Which I've been told every half year that it's getting back on the schedule next half year with Pandasaurus. At this point, I don't know when it's coming out. They'll tell me. I know nothing. I'm currently working on the next key game with Richard Rees.
Very exciting.
I will be working on something I can't tell you yet with Martin Wallace next week. There is one more person I'm forgetting. This is going to be so shameful when I realize who I forgot.
Steffenfeld.
No, not Steffenfeld. And I'm currently aggressively chasing Vital Lacerda to book him for next year, because the man is even busier than I am. So, but we already discussed the game idea. We already have a game idea. We just need to find, synchronize our dance cards, as they say.
And so what do you want from this year's expo?
$1 million.
I mean, what do you want from this year's expo?
On the welcome. This is the first con where Welcome to Dino World, another game that Nikshu and I worked together on. It's coming on. This is an actual proper roll and write, unlike Roll and Roll, which is a Euro dice game masquerading as a roll and write. So it's the first con where Welcome to Dino World is on sale. So I'm hoping that'll do well with Alicat. So if you're in the neighborhood, pop by and draw some dinosaur cages.
Certainly will.
Roll and Roll is getting all the eyeballs now. It's going to be on Kickstarter in September. So far the response has been overwhelmingly positive and excited. Lots of people are ready for the next level. There are many people who like Dice Heroes, like the Grand Hotel Austria or Pulsar or Marco Polo. And I'm trying to do that condensed. Lots of people love roll and writes, and I'm trying to do that, but seriously.
Yeah.
So I looked at the market and I was like, there's no game there. In the middle, there are games on the light end and there are games on the heavy end, but there's no game there. So, roll and roll, I hope people will love it. What else happening this expo? It's the public reveal of Venice, my new game coming from Brain Crack Games.
Okay.
It's co-designed with Andrei Novak, the designer of Praetor and Versailles, the games that inspired Teotihuacan. Right. So you're in good company, and it's going to be the spiritual sequel to Rugusa, which was from Fabio Lopiano from last year. Yeah. So it's going to have the same art, it's same player count, same length, same book size, but a completely different game.
Right.
Kind of feels similar. It's worker placement, but weird. So you'll see Venice, Roman Roll, Dino World. These are my main focuses this year.
So one last question. Who's going to win the Champions League?
The what?
David Turtsey, thank you very much. Day one, UK Games Expo.
Oh yeah.
At the Hub Games booth with one of the top board game celebrities in the world, Matthew Jude. Matthew.
Do you know what? Yeah, why not? I'll take it. I'll take it.
It's like being the nicest person in the Tory party or something, isn't it?
Yeah, I could add to that sentence, but I won't, because it's like, yeah, it's fine. How are you? It's nice to pop into you and see you.
Yeah, no, it's good, isn't it? I mean, I haven't got my press pass yet because the queue's huge, so I managed to steal an exhibitor pass from someone.
But you look like a wild man.
I feel like a wild man. It's been a hell of a couple of days. But so what have you done thus far? I mean, it's only the first hour, so you can't have done much.
Well, I went to the press thing yesterday. Oh yes. So the press event is they unleash the press on all these booths of people selling their Kickstarter. I hated the experience, but I'm glad I went.
Nice.
Everyone's showing their stuff off, but they don't know who you are. They think you're a distributor's going to. It's very strange. But I'm glad I went. I'd go again.
So are there actual publishers there, or is it just Kickstarter people going?
Everyone's loads of publishers are there. Like Portal Games are showing off their game. They don't need to show up their game. Everyone knows their games.
Right, exactly.
But everyone was there, so it was all right. It's good. And then I played Blood on the Clock Tower.
Oh, and?
Okay, so
I mean, is it just bloody Is it just bloody expensive werewolves?
So, yes, it is. But I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved. It was absolutely fantastic. But I'm not someone who's played a load of werewolf till I'm blue in the face.
Yeah.
Like I've never played the Resistance, so I've not played those. But for me, absolutely incredible. So I really enjoyed it.
So, but is it worth 70 quid? I can't see how it's worth 70 quid, right?
Yeah. I mean, it comes with this big grimoire box, and which is functional. You have to have that because you're hiding all these felt tokens, and it helps the GM organise the game. But it is just sheets of paper that are laminated.
And is it one of those things? I mean, the thing is, with these kind of games, the striving has always been to get rid of the Games Master so everyone can just play the game.
This hinges on a Games Master.
Right. So
one person is out of the game.
And so does it look like they're having fun, or?
Yes, because that person can choose whether to give information or not. They are in the game as well, and they're asked to facilitate it like a GM would facilitate Dungeons and Dragons. The person who helped our game was excited to do it. So maybe it's fun. I probably wouldn't want to do it though.
Right.
But I had a really great time playing it. But yeah, it kind of goes back to taking someone out of the game. Close your eyes, everybody, and that person again.
Yeah.
Well, I had a great time playing it. But I've not got much experience playing those kind of games.
So you're doing a live show here?
Oh yes.
Are you very excited about that?
It's something that's happening. No, it's gonna be fine. I'm doing a live show. We've got No Pun Included, and Z Garcia is going to be there, and Actual Law, and tomorrow. And me and Dave from This Game is Broken are hosting it. But it's This Game's Broken, but really we're going to facilitate everyone else doing the show.
Oh, okay. So it's not a specific This Game is Broken?
It is, but there's not enough members of This Game's Broken here to legitimately say this is an episode of This Game. Do you know what I mean?
Well, why didn't you call Dan? Get him to step in.
Oh, we were going to... He's in Scotland.
He is. He said he was going to come down here on Sunday.
Is he?
Well, he said that, but then he found out
He's a day late for this live show. He should have...
Right, but he said the parking was more expensive than the ticket. So
that's true.
I mean, he is from Yorkshire,
and he can't get a press pass, not with his credentials.
I mean, would you give that a press pass? So what do you want to get out of this event?
The whole event as a whole?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I would like to just wander around and enjoy board games and try not to think about all the ways I've ruined board games for myself by doing board game media.
Right.
I want to just enjoy being around people who enjoy games and places. It's the first time I've been able to stay, because it's my local convention, so I've never thought of stay. You can tell my accent's stronger here than it normally is. So, but playing some games and enjoying it like a convention instead of enjoying it like a business thing.
Yeah.
It's just nice to be around and meet up with, I know it sounds silly, but meet up with, like, seeing you. I've got a Knitsia game I brought, so I want you to play it.
Yeah, which I want to play.
You know, that kind of thing, just to hang out and play games. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the interview, but thanks for the question.
I'm asking you the question. It's because I care about you.
Thanks. Yeah, a bit of both, actually, because last year my head went funny and I was in a really weird place and couldn't really speak to people and got really anxious.
I'm taking time. I'm taking moments out to go outside and not be around anyone.
Right.
And I decided this year to not just go outside, but to go around the corner so I can be on my own.
You should go and sit in the Viking village.
Because there's no one there.
It's very calming.
It's very strange. I don't understand this, but I'm glad they are having a good time.
I've never quite understood cosplay.
I don't get it.
But whatever turns you on, right?
But anyone here at the UK Games Expo saying cosplay, what's that about? And not realising that they are also in at that Like, everyone else is thinking that of them.
But also, it's one of those things, the older you become, kind of the more tolerant you become of people's
Go for it.
peccadillos, right?
I mean,
it's like, it's not my thing.
Those Vikings aren't hurting anyone. But my brother lives in Worcester, and in the
Right.
courtyard of where he lives, it's called the Commandery. It's like one of the oldest buildings in Worcester. Every weekend, there's a Civil War reenactment thing going on. Those people, they love it.
Love it, and whatever turns you on, turns you on.
Absolutely. Firing a blanks out of a musket at 6 o'clock in the morning, go for it, I say.
Well, Matthew Jude, thank you very much for your time.
It's been a pleasure.
I mean, I'll put the mic down so I can get an autograph. So, UK Games Expo, day one. I'm at the Czech Games Edition booth with the fabulously perfumed and eyebrowed Paul Grogan.
Definitely got the eyebrows. I don't know about the perfume.
And you've had a shave.
I've had a shave.
You look sort of young and fresh and alive.
It's taken 10 years off me.
It really has. I quite liked you as rugged and grey, though.
A number of people have said that recently, in fact, but we'll go into the reasons why I have a shave later on. It's a bit personal.
So, firstly, what do you think of the expo?
Oh, it's rubbish. Yeah, I don't know why I bother coming. It's just...
I mean, I don't know why you bother doing anything, to be honest.
I got out of bed this morning and thought, I can't be bothered.
But did you sleep last night?
No.
Because you're not a big fan of that, are you?
No, I don't like that either. No. Seriously, for a minute, Expo's amazing.
Yeah?
I mean, I was coming to Expo, the first Expo, when we were in a tiny little hotel in the middle of Birmingham, and I always get quite emotional when I talk about it, because, I was there for the first one.
Right.
And you saw just a few hundred people and a couple of exhibitors in a little hotel and everything else. And you look at it now, this is a proper company, this is on the same scale as Origins, and it's huge.
Does it lose something? Do you have a nostalgic sort of view back to the old days, and it was just you? No?
No.
I mean, you like it as it is.
I like it as it is because this is now, it's been taken seriously. Lots of international publishers are coming here. It's on the map as one of the big conventions around the UK, and I've known the organisers, for a decade or so, and it's just nice to see what they've accomplished, and they do it really well. And I'm not saying that because I'm friends with them, but Tom Vassell said to me a couple of years ago that out of all of the big conventions that he goes to, Expo is by far the best organised, best run and everything else, and it's just really nice to see that done. So yeah, I think Expo is fantastic.
And what are you here for? I mean, are you here just as CGE's man on the floor, or is there any sort of gaming rules?
Most of the time I'm CGE. Tomorrow afternoon I'm doing a seminar where this polo shirt comes off and my gaming rules polo shirt goes on, and then I've got
you can do that live in front of the audience.
Oh yeah, that's part of the thing. Tonight I've got a gaming rules meetup. Tomorrow night is the live podcast. So I'm doing gaming rules stuff apart from the seminar, which is during the hours of the exhibit hall. Outside of the exhibit hall, I'm gaming rules. Except I was still training the demo team at midnight last night.
Right. And so, what have CGE got coming up then?
So we have 2 new games coming out this year. We have Letter Jam, which is a 2 to 6 player cooperative card word-based game, but fully cooperative. Plays in about 45 minutes, suitable for families, but as you will hopefully find out soon, clever enough that gamers will like it as well. And we also have Sanctum, which is our big box game, which is fantasy themed, going around fighting monsters, getting XP, getting loot, restructuring your character in order to fight a big boss at the end of the adventure. But it's quite streamlined, it plays in about 90 minutes, so it isn't one of these that goes on for ages.
And so the question is, Paul, when in hell do I get my fucking Through the Ages expansion?
So this isn't being recorded on video, is it?
No.
So I have the cards in front of me for the Through the Ages expansion. I'm not allowed to show them to anybody. I'm not allowed for anybody to take photos, and I'm not supposed to show all of the cards to anybody. But I'm going to let you have a look at one of the cards.
And I'm not allowed to read this out on recorded media?
No.
So this is great for an audio medium.
Oh, this is awesome for radio, yeah.
But
you can say what it is.
I have just pulled the Manhattan Project.
So it's an age 3 wonder.
Ooh! Look at that shit!
Yeah.
That's cray.
So yeah, a new age 3 wonder called the Manhattan Project, but we won't say what it does.
And so when is this coming out? Is there...
It'll be this year.
It is this year.
It'll be this year.
Oh, thank God.
And they're going to
Paul.
kill me for saying that, but it'll be this year.
So it's Essen this year.
It should be physical form. I would have expected Essen this year. Digital form might come sooner. I mean, they've been doing hundreds and hundreds of playtest games.
Yeah.
But you might release it digital version, and then somebody might completely break a particular card. I don't think that's going to happen. I would bet a lot of money that won't happen.
And so, what's the format of the expansion? Is it just a pack of cards?
Yes, it's mainly new leaders and new wonders.
Yeah.
Which will replace. You can either replace all of the existing ones with new ones,
Or just whack them all
or
in?
you can. Well, no, you can only ever play with a certain amount.
Oh, okay.
But you can choose randomly which ones to use at the start of the game. We've also got a couple of updated cards from cards that are being tweaked. But yeah, it's just a new pack of cards. It'll be like the smallest box ever.
And so, why has this taken so long? Through the ages is, by any board game estimation, an old game
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
And the second edition is, Christ, what, 4 years?
3-4 years. So part of the reason is the fact that Vladia wanted to do all of the testing for the expansion digitally,
Right.
using the app, so that he could get all of the stats, all of the data, and really properly, thoroughly analyze it. The app took 3 years longer to come out than originally planned.
Right.
So that's why the expansion was probably announced 5-6 years ago, and he had the ideas for it then, but he went, right, we've got to finish the app first, then we can start doing the thing. The second reason is Vladia playtests things to death with hundreds of games. I mean, I've seen him and the digital team sat around 2 very, very large monitors analysing data on the spreadsheets like they were looking at the Matrix for 3 hours. And it was night, and I just sat there and watched what they were doing, and they were literally going, oh, well, this leader has only been taken in 17% of games, but in the games he was taken, the player actually won 70% of the time. So actually, it is a really good card, but people are not taking it. Why they're not? And they were analysing data from, if not thousands of games, and that was great to see. But that's the level of detail that they go into in order to make sure that the expansion is as good as it can be. So those two factors combined have meant me and you have been waiting for 3 years before we get it.
Amazing.
But it's round the corner.
Speaking of Paul Grogan, I'm going to grab you again at the Gaming Rules meetup this evening.
Oh yes.
Because I'll be there, a lot drunker than I am now. And thank you very much for your time.
I'll see you tonight.
Indeed. So, UK Games Expo, Portal booth, Ignacy Trevicek, Portal Games. So firstly, how has today been? First day of the Games Expo.
I have to say that it was very lazy for me because I was spending most of the day in the hotel running secret demos of Empires of the North for press and media. So
Why was I not invited?
I don't know. Like, we will talk about this off the record, okay? So my team was working their asses, running demos of Roll and Ride, and they're now cleaning the booth. And I was sitting in the lobby playing a game, having tea. Amazing day.
And so, how important is the UK Games Expo to you? Is it a big thing? Because we spoke sort of maybe last year, and you said it was a very small thing for you. Has it grown now?
It's growing, and it's growing as a convention, and it's growing for a company like me on importance. So last year I came here without any new release, and my main goal was to meet media, to meet press, and present them Detective. This year, because the convention is growing and it's getting more and more important, this year I'm meeting with press and media with the demos of the game in the hotel, but here we have a pre-release of the game. It will be in stores in 2 weeks, but for the UK Game Expo we have shipped from the manufacturer brand new release. Yes, so as you can see, my company is treating UK Game Expo more and more seriously because the convention is getting crazy big. Now I will know more after a few days.
Making the way towards the exit now, please, ladies and gents. The show is now closed.
Thank you. So after we now run so many demos of the pre-release game, after we sell so many games, I will see if there is waves in the internet of positive feedback, and if my street date, my actual release, will be more successful than usual, because I did a hype here. So I will know more about importance of the Game Expo in terms of the business in a couple of weeks.
So, also, how big is it for Portal Games to be nominated for the Kennerspiel? Because I played Detective here last year, and I thought, I find it like Sherlock Holmes, but modern, like a modern Sherlock Holmes. And I thought this is a great game, and it's been pretty successful, I think, for you. What is the deal for you with the Kennerspiel? Is it like sort of, oh, someone's recognized us, or is it like, Christ, now we're going to sell 100,000 more copies?
I would say both. So on one hand, once again, on a business level, and now I'm serious. 1 hour after the nomination was announced, I got a phone call from Pegasus Spiele from Germany with the order. No numbers, but there was a big order. So just the nomination means you are selling more. That's a fact. On the more personal level, on more branding level, is a dream come true, or even it's a modern dream. Like you guys know, I'm doing gamers games, Robinson Crusoe, like these are difficult games. So Spiel des Jahres award was never in my area of chances to getting. Like I was always hoping to get the Dice Tower award, to get Golden Geek award, the Geeks awards, and suddenly on Monday, you hear that these guys in Germany, this committee says, okay, you can have a Kenner Spiel des Jahres. But it's mind-blowing.
What's the deal, though? Do they send you an email beforehand, or do you know at the same time as everyone else?
It was literally super fun, because the weekend before, we got 3 nominations for the Dice Tower. So in the morning on Monday, 8 a.m. in the office, I did a briefing for the company. I said, guys, we just got 3 nominations for the Dice Tower. Marketing, work hard, we are sending a newsletter, we are sending it to the distributors, to fans, we are bragging because this is a golden. And I am in the middle of sending newsletter to the fans when this guy, Marcin, rushes to my office and says, we have it. And I was not thinking at Spiel des Jahres that much, I said, what, we have it? Spiel des Jahres, and he ran away. And I said, what? I finished newsletter, so I sent newsletter, you can literally see the hours when it was sent, and I said, what he said? And then I checked and learned that we get Kenner Spiel des Jahres. So it was totally unexpected. It's out of our horizon of dreams, basically. And now, so on personal level, I'm super proud. On a branding level for the company, it's a huge thing to get such an award. In terms of the business, it really sells more boxes. This is flat.
So what I'm interested in, because this is your game, right? And you don't only publish your designs. How would you feel different if it was a Portal game not designed by Ignacy Trzewiczek?
For sure, on a personal level, like me, Ignacy, I'm like flying. Like I'm super happy. So I will be for sure very proud as a company. But the fact that it is my game, like I'm really, honestly, super happy. Like it really hit me very strongly, because it was award I never expected, and it is something huge. So very happy.
And so, what do you want to get from the UK Games Expo this year?
We are, as I said, we are play testing. We are testing the impact of this show. If we, as you can see, we have 8 tables, only 1 game on this table. On every single table, we are presenting Impressions Roll and Write. We brought many copies. We, as you might heard, we designed a special board for the convention purposes for the UK Game Expo. We printed it in 100 copies, and the first 100 customers got this special board for the UK Game Expo. So we made all the effort to promote Roll and Write. And after a few weeks, I will see if the goal was achieved.
And so, I mean, the Kenner Spiel des Jahres is one thing, but what I've noticed with the Spiel des Jahres nominees this year is there isn't a board game. There's not a game that you get a board out and you put it on a table. What do you feel about that as a fan of the industry?
I really, honestly enjoyed these moments, these rare moments when I'm surprised. When I open the box and there's like the super famous thing from the last year, Demind, the game. I personally don't like this game. I say it openly. But as a designer, I totally respect completely different approach to the gaming, yes? So if there is a game that has no board, or there is a game that has some strange components, it's amazing that we still have a chance to surprise customer. And this is me as a designer being surprised. The moment when Rob Devium, years ago, came up with the Risk Legacy, and the guy came up with the idea to, destroying the game, this is brilliant, yes? And he changed the industry, yes? And the legacy games pop up like crazy. So if we have nominations for the games that are different, I am for it.
So one last question.
Yep.
Who's going to win the Champions League?
And if I say it aloud and it will be bad luck, do you want to read that?
Yes, you are to blame if you curse my team.
Oh, sure. I strongly believe Liverpool has a finally chance to do something amazing. I remember very vividly, I remember last year we were at my home with my friends, my buddies came to my, so there were 4 of us watching, and Mo Salah problems and the carries, like there was so unfortunate moments, and they still played very good. It was a good match from Liverpool, even this all bad luck that happened. Like we were watching him, there's still a chance. They're playing so amazingly, even with this whole bad luck. And I hope the karma is back, and now this all bad luck from the last year will be now for Liverpool. Like they deserve it for years of great football.
That is the correct answer.
Thank you.
Including games.
I am here, UK Games Expo, in the pub yet again. With.
Are you there the whole day, Ben? You just stay in the pub?
Pretty much I've spent the whole day in the pub, yes. But
this is the first time you're actually talking to somebody. The rest of the time was just for yourself in the pub.
Sitting in a corner, crying, lamenting, which is my profession.
It's a tough world.
But I'm here with chemistry's sexiest board game designer, Matthew Dunstan, all the way from down under.
Yes,
so,
literally came from Cambridge. Yeah.
So how is the con been for you thus far?
It's good. It's bigger and bigger every year, it seems. But I'm still helping with Playtest UK, the design collective, I guess, in the UK, and it's fun. It's still Friday, so I still have some energy, so it's not so bad.
And I mean, what do you get from the whole playtesting deal? Is it other people's games, your games?
I mean, originally I playtested my own games. You know, I mean, the whole point of playtest is any designers can bring along their games, and members of the public will playtest them, which is obviously really helpful. Now I just help organize it, and that's just sort of what I've got used to doing. And I guess I try to help in that way. But
and you say obviously it's really useful. I mean, when it comes to feedback from playtest, what's better? Your average gamer on the street or a game designer that you put the game in front of?
I don't think it's either or. They're just useful for different types of feedback. I think if you're in an earlier stage in your game, maybe you don't quite know what it is. It's more of a blank slate. I find game designer-esque kind of feedback can be useful because it gives you much more concrete things to work on, or the directions to take. They'll have more ideas usually about, but that's still only one portion of the majority of your audience aren't going to be like that. They're not going to be that kind of critical. So when you get nearer the end, I guess, actually to see what's the experience like, is it enjoyable, is it smooth? Actually, members of the public or like non-designing, it is especially useful because I think game designers are very used to playing things that are maybe difficult to understand or a bit rough around the edges. We're kind of used to that, but you don't want that in a published game, because if Joe Bloggs picks up a target, you don't want to bamboozle them with hard to understand rules or components that don't make sense. So
do you have a situation where you have a game, you put it on the table with people who are sort of normal gamers, or maybe even people who don't play games,
sure,
and they sit there and they go, oh, and you see them and they're trying to be nice, but they're not enjoying themselves. That must be also super useful.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have a lot of assumptions that you don't realize are assumptions. There's a lot of even like language, like like trick-taking games, for example. Like when you're trying to explain what a trick-taking game is to someone who doesn't play trick-taking games.
Blew my fucking mind. About 2 weeks ago, I was playing a trick-taking game, and I sat around and went, so everyone knows how to play trick-taking games, right? And one person went, sorry, I don't. And I'm like, how do I explain a trick-taking game to them? I've played them since I was 6 years old.
Yeah. So for those who have, it is like a language. It's like a language that you just understand implicitly. But for those who don't, it can be quite isolating in a way. So it makes you you don't take these assumptions for granted, and you realize that. Are you use this language as a crutch to sort of mask what is a much more complicated game, and other people can handle it because they're kind of used to half of it, and that might tell you actually no, I need to really simplify even the core of the concept to make it more understandable for the general public. So that's super useful, really useful.
And so, how do you feel about the UK Games Expo Because I guess you've been coming here for years, and now it's kind of like a proper thing.
Yeah, it's hard to. Well, I mean, it kind of weirdly maps to my journey in games. I mean, I moved to England really only when I was starting to design. I hadn't had a published game. Came to the first expo in 2012, and it's kind of grown. I don't want to say that I've grown like the UK Games Expo, but it's kind of interesting. It feels like it's like those people who say they grew up with Harry Potter and they feel like their schooling was kind of connected to that journey. It has a weird resonance for me for that. And like the more I've got in the industry, the bigger the expo has also become more serious, a more serious thing.
And do you feel the industry has grown alongside the expo in this sense? Does the industry feel more professional, less hobby-esque?
You've still not listened to me. I wanted like this.
I don't think so. I just feels that the UK is more of a part of an industry that already existed. Yes, I think there are obviously some trends like things like Asmodee and Kickstarter that have changed the business side of professionalism, but the publishers coming here are still the same publishers who were in Essen, like 10 years ago, but it just feels like they're coming here now,
I mean, I found it super interesting. First time I came here was 2015.
Exactly on my mindset.
And I was kind of surprised how amateur and ghettoized it felt, because it wasn't at the NEC, it was just over the hill. Kind of all the games in the hall, there were no big publishers, maybe Pegasus was the only big, I mean, they're not really a publisher, but you know what I mean. Everything else seemed very ad hoc, very men in sheds, very kind of parochial British.
Yeah, it was local. Like it felt like a local convention, and that had its charm. And even earlier than that, like 2012, when I was in this Masonic Lodge, it was very local. And I mean, it still speaks to the passion of the people who have run it all that time, that they've managed to grow it from that to such an international-facing convention. And actually, I think it's shown the eagerness for the UK public as well for such an event, because they've responded to the increasing professionalism of the show with increased attendance. As you see, like I think they were saying something like 18% increased pre-order sales this year on last year, which was already 12%.
And I think you can't undervalue something like the Vault Fast that Games Workshop have made in the last 4 years. They've just gone, no, we embrace the gaming public in a way that they never have. They've always seemed very distant. And when you have, I mean, they are the sort of seminal British game publisher. And when they endorse something like the UK Games Expo, that's a factor.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think they've done a lot of, but I think the Expo's also done a lot of work going to foreign fairs. You always see them in Essen and Cannes, and they're doing a lot of work to try and essentially pitch the show to international publishers and to get them to come here.
Yeah.
And I think you've seen it hard work. Each year there's more and more, and I think we've almost we've crested some sort of wave, because now you really see a really broad swathe of German, French, even American publishers coming here with their proper booths. They're not just through distributors. They're here with their own staff. People flying here from the States, things like that. So, and I think once you get that, actually, it only feeds itself, because then all the other publishers say, well, I need to be coming here. People are starting to release games here, as their first showing, and that's their plan. And so I think it's well positioned in the calendar to be a really, just a really great show, and still retain, I think, a lot of the nice things of. Someone said that it's like a fun Gen Con that I only have to, maybe go 1 hour to instead, and only spend half as much money or something,
And it feels, I mean, for good or ill, it feels British.
Yeah.
It feels, it has a, because I've been to Essen, I've been to a number of conventions, and this feels, it feels now like the UK is representing itself in the gaming world, not as sort of weird old men in sheds, but something that is comparable to the rest of the world.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they've maintained some of the things that were important to them, which are actually quite unique, like the family gaming zone, which has always stayed, and it's always a really important thing. Playtest UK, which we've been there all the time, and we have people who come specifically to playtest games, during the middle of the day of a show, which I think is relatively unique, and it's free and open and sort of egalitarian. I think that's really important. Other things, that they've sort of improved with, like seminars and things like that. So yeah, I agree. I think I'm not sure if I have a sense of Britishness. I've obviously I'm not British, so I have a different connection with that. But they certainly have their unique place and their kind of their niche and their specialty in that. And I think they've owned that, and I think people are embracing it. So that's really great.
Well, one more question. Who's going to win the Champions League?
I don't know who's in the Champions League.
You're not the first nerd I've spoken to that has had that answer. Matthew
Sorry.
Dunstan, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Ben.
UK Games Expo, day one.
I'm so excited.
I'm here with the effervescent, sparkling Kathleen Mercury.
Thank you, Ben. I have to say, it is so exciting to meet you in person.
I know, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, I'm excited every time I look in the mirror, you know what I mean?
I mean, that face. It could cut glass.
I mean, often breaks it, yes. So, you've been in England now for how long?
Just under a week.
And how do you find this racist old shithole?
Well, considering that I'm currently hailing from a country that certainly is having interesting discussions about itself and its own future, I've been actually probably blissfully ignorant to it. The first time I came to London, I was with a friend's mom, and she wanted to go to all the touristy places, so I said yes. And this time has been eating, drinking, playing games, having fun, meeting friends.
Learning about B-days.
Learning about... I thought you meant birthdays.
I mean, also, birthdays are a concept. When a person is born, every year subsequently, they celebrate their birth with gifts and drinks.
And by also washing their bums with water.
In a bowl next to the toilet.
Right. For those listening at home, I did ask very specific questions over dinner at a chicken restaurant how exactly a bidet works, because it's just not part of our vernacular.
And I offered, I think, pretty comprehensive answers.
Right, I now understand what to do with the towel.
Right, exactly.
Yes. So it's all about learning and cultural exchange. Really, it's what makes us better people.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So how have you found the UK Games Expo then?
I think it's been great. It's been really fun. I mean, it's in a lot of ways like most of the cons that I know, but it's also, obviously, there's a much wider array of games than what we probably get at home, different publishers that I've never seen. And just meeting all the people and just, we might have different accents, we might have different stories, but at the end of the day, everybody just loves to come together and play a fun game on the table. So it's been great. And plus, meeting you, seeing so many other people who live overseas that I've either never met or, we've only spoken with. I think, for me, it's been fantastic.
Are you surprised at how many Americans there are here? I think it's really grown over the last few years.
How many Americans do you think come to the show versus work it? Because I haven't...
I think it's primarily working it.
Yeah. Because if there are Americans coming for the show, that would probably be a big surprise. I'm not saying it wouldn't be worthwhile, because honestly, it's really fun. But for myself, I love to travel. I mean, Iceland and Italy, Greece, anywhere New Zealand, anywhere that I can get off to, I want to go. So for me, the opportunity to come here and play games and meet people, I just couldn't turn it down. So excited.
And I mean, Americans have this conception of England,
Yeah.
and this very sort of Mary Poppins sort of place.
Right.
To what extent does it meet those expectations, England, or is it surprisingly different to what you expect?
Well, the one thing that I did that was sort of touristy in London was I went with some friends to have afternoon tea at a very fancy place in Mayfair.
The Ritz?
Next to the Ritz, the Wolseley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's lovely and it's beautiful, but it was a bit over the top.
How much does an afternoon tea there cost then?
It was one of the more reasonable ones I found. With champagne, it was £40
per head.
Per head.
That's not crazy.
No, because there was plenty that were 75, 80 and up.
Did you have the scones with the clotted cream and all of that kind of
I do not enjoy clotted cream.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It is sticky
and
oddly stringy.
Oh, it's amazing.
I didn't like it. No, thank you. No, thank you.
I'm genuinely. It sounds far more disgusting than. Clotted cream sounds disgusting, but my God, it's wonderful.
It's appropriate. The name fits. It is a clotted mess. But that said, that was really the most touristy place thing that we did, and it was so over the top. The guy at the door had a morning coat on and a bowler hat. Dressed the full Disney part of the English doorman. But right before I went to tea at the Wolseley, a friend of mine, we went on a donut shop tour of Shoreditch. So we're in all these hipster little donut places and all that.
Sounds utterly insufferable.
It was really fun, except I do have a problem that one place we went to, they don't fry their donuts, they bake them. That's just an iced bun. Right, it's not a donut.
Right.
You have to fry it.
Yes, you do.
But then we went to another place and they were fried except sourdough. And so again, my American brain trying to wrestle with this harsh reality of different ways of doing things.
You know, fuck hipsters.
You know what? They've taught us marvelous things to do with avocados, though. We can't bless their vegan souls. We just,
I mean, to be fair, I don't want my burger served to me unless it's by someone with a beard down to their nipples and a sleeve tattoo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Do you like kombucha?
I've had it. I mean, like it. I've not drunk it enough to be able to comment.
No, it's not that too. So, and back to the England adventure. The first time I went was very touristy. This time was more just about getting out, small shops, walking the city like crazy. I found a really great restaurant in Brixton. It was American style, but they had an amazing bourbon selection. Like bourbons that are hard to find in America, and they had so many. And just so much fun.
Have you had a curry yet since you've been here?
No, not a proper one, I don't think.
This is what you need to do before you leave.
Probably.
It's the archetypical British meal at this point.
Right.
That's the best thing you can
I've had a steak and ale pie. I've had fish and chips. Because I also want to. I don't ever want to be like the stereotype, but I also want to eat what people are known for. So speaking of, we did one of the most English things ever tonight, didn't we?
What was that? Be a racist?
That was not my. I don't think I was.
Vote against your own interests in a craven nationalistic manner.
So you're saying you're enjoying watching this from the sidelines?
No, because I'm fucked. I don't know what's happening to me.
Yeah, well, actually, my sister her husband is Scottish,
right?
And she works in Berlin, so she's not sure what's her status either. So no, it's very real.
I'm not enjoying it whatsoever.
No, of course not.
I'm lividly angry. I can't explain to you how angry I am.
I'm sure. No, the main thing is we went to Nando's Chicken. We had a cheeky Nando's.
That's right. We did go to Nando's.
So we had a cheeky Nando's, and I will say for everyone listening, we had a group that bloated in size from like 6 people to like 15 people, and then down to 12 people. And the people at Nando's could not have been nicer about accommodating our obnoxious group in the middle of a very busy dinner time rush. So
I mean, Americans are very demanding, and
I said please and thank you about 16,000 times.
Right, and it's really surprising to see an American do that because usually they don't. They treat the help appallingly, I've noticed.
I'm sorry to hear that. So and one of my friends, because there's the one big Tumblr post all about cheeky Nando's and how Americans don't understand a cheeky Nando's, and I think it's just hysterical. So I was texting him pictures along the way, like I'm at a cheeky Nando's, and So I guess that's my British tourist fantasy come to real life.
Well, you can't beat a cheeky Nando's.
Right. I can now say I've had a cheeky Nando's. So with the Archbishop of Banterbury and all the rest.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Kathleen Mercury.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. This was an absolute treat, and I look forward to speaking with you anytime you'll have me.
UK Games Expo. Ibis Styles Gaming Rules Party. And I'm here with the indefatigable Gil Hober from Formal Ferret Games.
I've never been able to pronounce that word.
This is what they pay me the big bucks for.
I'm certainly where my Patreon money's going to.
Yeah, absolutely. So how has the con been for you thus far?
I love this show. I am such a huge fan of this show. So I really just enjoyed the excuse to visit England for a week. Well, we made it more like 10 days this time around. But I love this time where I get to hang out with a bunch of friends that I don't normally see. I really, really enjoy it here.
Is it different to American shows?
Well, the American show that this is closest to is Origins in terms of size, in terms of scope, in terms of structure. Origins is very similar to this. But I think just the fact that I get to see a whole bunch of people that I don't normally otherwise get to see. And I think another factor that distinguishes this is Origins is like a 3 or 4 hour drive away from Gen Con.
Right.
Something about that, give or take an hour. Whereas this show, UK Games Expo, this might be the only big show that a lot of these folks will be going to.
Right.
So you get people who are really excited and enthusiastic. And from a crass commercial perspective, people want to buy games. And as a publisher and a vendor, that's really important to me, that if I'm going to travel across the Atlantic Ocean, I should be able to pay my money back, pay my airfare and
you
hotels.
don't have anything new here. So you've got networks and the expansion.
To sell, I have games that I didn't have last year, but they're not brand spanking new. Like for example, I have Bad Medicine, which came out late last year.
Right.
But that's not so much of a crunchy hobby game, and this is the kind of market where a crunchy hobby game is really going to sell.
Right.
Bad Medicine is a quirky storytelling game that I'm super proud of, but it doesn't. Let's say it has niche appeal, which I'm still really proud of it. I love the game, and people who play it and love it, you can tell the Bad Medicine fans, which is awesome. I'm also showing off the digital version of Wordsy. We're calling it A Vowel, a version of Wordsy electronically loaded, because we're not allowed to legally call it Wordsy in the App Store.
Oh, really? Why not?
There are other games in the App Store with names that are similar, and that wouldn't be a problem, except their lawyers tend to be kind of trigger happy for what we hear. So why not? Why kick the hornet's nest, you know? So we're calling it A Vowel instead, which fits because there's no vowels in the deck of cards in Wordsy. And most importantly, I have a prototype copy of High Rise here, and I'm showing that.
And so what's your aspirations for High Rise?
My aspirations for High Rise is people love it, you know? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I want this game to be hopefully around the same order of magnitude as the networks, like fingers crossed, like that's, or even if it sells like 2/3 as much as networks, I'll be totally happy, you know? But I feel like this game has legs because people are really excited about it, and then they play it and they want to play it again, which is always a really good sign. They come back to me the next day and they say they're still thinking about the game they played, and that's always a really good sign. I'm really proud of High Rise. I think it's one of the best things I've done.
And so what comes now? Now High Rise is done.
Rules-wise, it's just about done. There's a couple of things I'm zipping up on the solo game, but all the other player counts are done. I have to finish up the rule book. We're finishing up the graphic design. Once I get home from Origins in a couple of weeks, then I can focus myself on the rule book, and I'll be good to go.
Nice.
And then that should be at the printer by the summer, Northern Hemisphere summer. So I'm very excited about that. Once that's done, I'm going to be focusing on the Rival Networks, my 2-player version of the networks that I'm working on with J.R. Honeycutt. And I'm also working on Weird Stories, my first role-playing game. And that has been such a blast to work on. I am so excited about it. So I'm really, really thrilled to be working on Weird Stories.
And so when can we see Weird Stories then?
So Weird Stories is... So Weird Stories is going to be coming out. I'm not sure quite yet what the schedule is because it depends on Rival Networks, and Rival Networks depends on High Rise.
Right.
So there's a lot of little interconnected things. I'll have more clarity at the end of the year, but I'd say sometime in 2020 is not unrealistic.
Amazing. Well, Bilba Hova, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, now I can talk.
So UK Games Expo Day 2. I'm here at the Game Toppers booth with Berkey. Berkey, welcome to the United Kingdom.
Thank you very much. This place is fantastic, right?
Is this your first time in Britain?
First time in Britain, first time at the UK Games Expo, first time at Warwick Castle.
How was Warwick Castle? I've never been. It's very close to where I'm from, but I've never been.
We were asking people, we want to go see a castle. You know, you can go to this castle, go to this castle. One guy says, you should go to Warwick. We went to Warwick. We could have spent all day there. It was fantastic. We watched the jousting, which was fun.
Wow.
The falconry, amazing. But walking up these spires, and it was just breathtaking. We just loved it.
I mean, you see it on movies, and you kind of don't think it's real, right? But when you see it, you're like, my God, this it's not a Hollywood film. This is actually real.
Oh, exactly. You just feel the history.
Yeah.
You know, it brings you back to a different age.
And so, how has the show been for you?
Oh, it's been wonderful. You know, we're going to Kickstarter on June 25th, and we're doing international distribution on this one. So we have our warehouse in Germany, but it's in question about how we're going to get product to the UK.
Right.
So I decided to come to this show particular to develop some relationships so that we could distribute product effectively and affordably to the UK.
So previously you didn't sell to the UK?
That's right.
And were you getting a lot of inquiries saying, hey, when can I get one over here?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I bet you I get 3 dozen emails a month from Europeans just saying, when can I have a topper, Berkey? They love the price, they love the functionality of our toppers being portable. So, you know, you're not missing anything from a dedicated table when you use a game topper. It literally upgrades every game you play from here on out. But then you can put it away. You know, it takes 2 minutes to pop it on your table. You got a connector cleat, you match the 2 halves, roll out your game mat, boom, you're gaming. Then you put it behind the couch, put it in the closet.
So why? I mean, Game Toppers has now been, going for 2 years?
Yeah, we did our first Kickstarter was 2017, ended in November, and we successfully delivered over 1,400 packages in North America, Canada, and we actually shipped several of them across the world, some to Singapore. Cool Mini or Not has them in their Singapore stores there. We have about 30 publishers that use our toppers in their show kits, so that all happened from that first Gen Con in 2017.
But why? Why did you think, I want to make a gaming table?
Well,
what did you do before you were Mr. Game Topper?
Well, I've run several businesses. I ran a successful computer company. My family actually did music, and we traveled the United States for 15 years doing music and CDs and all kinds of stuff. So we've done a lot of things. I have a spice company called Burke's Happy Mouth Signature Spice that you're going to be able to try. But Game Toppers we've been a gaming family since we were young.
Right.
And at Christmas time, we would buy games for the family. And so after Gen Con, it was about 2010, we started to see the greater hobby. Right. And what was happening here, and it just opened our eyes to this amazing thing. And I met Tom Vassell for the first time at Gen Con, and I started seeing some of these beautiful tables like Geek Chic.
Right.
But these are $10,000 tables, you know, and I was like, I can't do that. So I designed a table that my father built.
Yeah.
And we just loved playing on it. Well, then my 2 oldest daughters, they got married, and they moved about an hour away, and I thought, well, how do we take this experience, this beautiful table, to them? So I made a prototype. I'm a wood craftsman. I've done stone masonry work and so forth, and so I built this topper. It was horrible. Didn't have cup holders. It was super heavy and clunky, but it was a try.
Right.
Then we ended up making 5 prototypes, and all of a sudden it was like, these are really awesome. This works. How can I make this manufacturable? How can I make it affordable for most folks and do it with quality? Because I love heirloom. I don't like to do cheap stuff.
Right.
And so there's a lot of ways to get around making inexpensive product, but that's not my MO. So I met with one of the manufacturers in my hometown that actually used to work with me when we owned our computer business.
Right.
They grew to this big company, and they're doing a lot of displays for Target, Best Buy, Estee Lauder, big companies. And he goes, I think what you need is aluminum.
Right.
And so we engineered my design in military-grade aluminum, which is the highest quality I can buy that isn't aircraft ready.
Right.
And that allows us to have these multifunctional cup holders, all the different features with our dice towers, and provide the sturdy durability. I mean, we've had many conventions have, like Board Game Geek, they bought 30 game toppers for the Hot Games Room.
Right.
So every year the Essen games are displayed in their glory on game toppers. That's been through 6 conventions now, and they look like brand new.
So I mean, do you see Game Toppers as an industry company in that you sell to publishers, you sell to conventions, or do you see it as for the home market or both?
Yeah, it's really both. We're offering solutions to publishers so they can display their games. When you have a game topper at your display booth, I mean, people want to sit down and play.
Right.
They're just beautiful. They look great. You've seen the booth. People are very interested. But it's really a residential product. It's made so it's portable. It's made so that you can enjoy it. And we use the tagline, upgrading your gaming experience. And you literally upgrade every game that you play when you're on a Game Topper. And we've made the experience really involved we have like 14 thematic game mats. So depending on if you're playing a space game, man, throw out the space mat.
Yeah.
And these are crazy awesome mats. 3 millimeters, stitched edge. You know, I love our mats. I own a lot of mats, and I've not played on better mats than the mats we're making.
And so, what are you hoping for the next Kickstarter? What do you want to see from Game Toppers in 5 years?
Well, it's a great question. We're actually kind of making Game Toppers more of a lifetime brand because we're doing a lot of things in cooperation with Game Toppers, like storage bag solutions, bag storage mat solutions to store all of your mats. We've got storage racks that you can use. Adding additional gaming mats to our lineup. Like we have a new Viking mat from the artist Jaroslav, who did Reavers of Midgard. We're doing a new Scythe-inspired mat. We've worked out an arrangement where we have permission to do this from Stonemaier Games. It's not a Stonemaier product, and it's not in cooperation with them, but we have permission. And it's amazing. Resource management map. And so it's all these things just to elevate the gaming experience, and we're going to continue to get better.
Would you ever envisage having, because you see there's a couple of table companies here, and they have the LED lights and all of that sort of, do you ever envisage having electronics in the...
Oh, we have so many ideas. On the new Kickstarter, you're going to see a ton of innovations we'll elevate what we've already done. We have collapsible cup holders that collapse down, but they'll handle coffee mugs, they'll handle bigger water bottles, but they're also component trays when they're collapsed. And there'll be storage solutions so you can carry your bits or your coin collections, all of that kind of thing. So we're going to elevate all of those things. And you know, if someone has the space for a dedicated table, there's some beautiful dedicated tables available. You know, you have to be prepared to spend a little more money and have the space. But we're really taking it more to the portable audience.
Excellent. Well, Berkey, thank you so much for your time.
No, thanks for letting me. It's good to see you at the show again.
Yeah,
it really is.
And I'm really glad you're enjoying the United Kingdom, even if you are in an industrial estate in Birmingham.
Right. Well, we did get to stay with Paul Grogan at Gaming Rules down in Columpton.
Yes.
And that was wonderful too.
He's never invited me into his house.
No, well, he talks about it, but...
So I'm in the salubrious confines of Frank's West City of Kings booth. I'm looking at beautiful painted pictures, and I'm here with Frank. Frank,
hiya, how you doing?
I'm good.
It's really nice. We've got our own little kind of secret hideaway area now with artwork that no one else can see unless you come into our secret room.
And so how's the expo been for you this year?
It's been really good for us this year. This is the third year I've been at UK Games Expo, but it's the first year we've had physical items to sell. Last year we had sold out before we got here. So it's a very different experience because obviously it's people who are looking to buy something rather than people looking to play it. But it's been overwhelming, like much bigger and more people than I was expecting.
And people are buying?
Yeah, like we've sold a lot more than I expected. Some things I think will sell out today, and we've still got a whole nother day tomorrow. So that's fantastic news.
And so what's the deal with the company? How are you going to be expanding in the near future? And is your con going to be integral to the identity of the company and all of that sort of stuff?
So for me, I really always want to keep it me. I'm not looking to make it a 50-person big company. I know a lot of publishers like to have teams of like 4 or 5 people or upwards, but I like the freedom of the independence. And obviously I use contractors and I work with a lot of people, and I wouldn't be here if I wasn't for others. But the advantage to me for that is that there's no dependency of me paying other people's salaries at specific times. I want to release one game a year, maybe it's every 18 months, but when that game comes out, I want to be proud of it. I want to say, I am happy with this now. Some people might be familiar with Rising Blades. I announced that 2 years ago, but it's not out yet because I still want to make changes to it. If I had a team of people, maybe I would have had to have released that by now because we've spent money on it and we need to pay the bills.
So you need to pay people's wages.
Exactly. So that freedom allows me to create what I believe is better games, and I always want to kind of stay at that level.
But this is your gig now, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, this is full-time, and it has been for probably 2 to 3 years now, somewhere around there. It's hard because I worked for myself before doing other stuff, so that transition of when it was really doing this full time, it's kind of hard to remember exactly when.
And so what does the UK Games Expo have that other conventions don't?
So one of the things I really like about the UK Games Expo is they put a real prioritization on UK exhibitors.
Right.
So I'm like right from the front gate, you know, the main entrance to the hall. First thing a lot of people do is come to our booth.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic for us. At Gen Con and Essen, I'm such a small guy. I'm never going to get that. And right next to me is Inside the Box. You know, Alleycat Games are right around the corner. Braincrack Games are just over here. Hold On Nothing Productions, 5 UK publishers are all within 10 meters of us, and we're all at the front door. And I really like the fact that they value the local people as much as Cool Mini or not, or, you know, Stronghold or Portal and all of those other companies.
Does it feel parochial as a con?
Like, not really. Like, it feels like it's got a lot, like, you know, it still feels fair and everything feels right, but it feels like they're trying to show the strength of what is kind of local to them.
Right.
You know, when you go to Gen Con, there's a lot of the people who pay more get what they want. You know, it's the more money you've got, the better it is for you. Whilst here, you know, it's not that. It's much more, how do we have a good distribution of big guys, small guys, and everything intertwined.
And will this be profitable for you?
It will. It's funny because I didn't think it was going to be. Like this, I would say, it's the first time we've had physical stuff to sell, and we've got a very large booth this year, and we spent a lot of money kitting it out. We've got a lot of staff. It was very, very expensive for us. But it's also been very, very successful for us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a nice surprise that we've sold as much as we have.
Well, Frank, Wes, thank you very much.
No worries, thank you.
So I'm here, the last day of the UK Games Expo, and I'm feeling dreadful. But I'm happy to say I'm here with Kate Evans, who is the
marketing manager
of the Expo, and this is a full-time gig for you, right?
Yes, yeah. So I work for the Expo in our little offices in Kidderminster, and then once a year we are released into the wild, and this amazing show happens.
So how long have you been with the Expo then?
So I have been to every Expo since 2007.
Okay.
But I was always a demoer for various places. So Estevium, when they were Estevium, and then, you know, when they became Asmodee, I would demo games for them. And as of November last year, I work for the Expo, and they are brilliant. It is such an amazing team. So yes.
And I mean, everyone sees this and they come here and they enjoy it, but what's your duty in the 362 days that the Expo's not on?
Okay, so the point of the Expo is this is a place where anyone can come and play games.
Right.
And that's the whole shtick. We want people to be able to feel welcome and to play games and to know about Expo. So my job is basically do you know about Expo? We're a little bit bigger perhaps than you might think we are. Look at all this stuff. And then it's to try and capture people's impressions of things and say, we had a really good time, these guys had a good time, this family has been coming back for X number of years, these guys were here for the first time. So last year, I obviously don't have stats and figures or anything this year, last year, one of our mob bumped into a family from Taiwan.
Right.
It's like, wow, that's very cool. Are you guys on holiday here? And they said, no, we flew in on Wednesday from Taiwan, we're doing your show, and we're flying back again Monday night. which is obviously amazing and completely bonkers, but it's wonderful.
So you said you've been to every Expo since 2007, right?
Yes.
So can you explain for the listeners, because we are in now Hall 1 of the NEC, it looks like a hall from Essen. It's, you know, it's full of game companies, there's loads of signs on the roofs, all that sort of stuff from a big convention. What have the changes been since you first attended in 2007 to now?
So when this first started, and Richard Denning and his team basically set this up at the Clarendon Suites, which was a little Masonic Lodge place in the middle of Birmingham. And that happened because they basically came back from Essen and said, I really wish we had a game show that was closer to home.
Right.
And Jane, his extremely clever wife, went, yes. And Denning was like, well, maybe we could set one up. And Jane said, yes, Yes, you should. And so 13 years later, we have this. But initially, they were expecting maybe 400 people.
Okay.
So they got twice that on the first year. And it was a case of, from there, they were at the Clarendon for a little bit. And then a few years later, Tony, who's now co-director with Richard, joined the team. And everything has just massively increased from there. So then there was the discussion of, well, we can move to the Hilton, but do you think we can get 5,000 people here? And the chaps were like, oh, I don't know if we can get to 5,000. So now we have 3 halls of the NEC, the Hilton Metropole Hotel, and we have, I think as of yesterday morning, so as of Saturday morning, I think we had a turnstile count of 40,000 people.
Wow.
Bearing in mind that last year, across the whole 3 days, I think we had about 44,000.
Okay.
So
with
that was Saturday morning.
with a day to go, you've pretty much broken last year's record.
Yes, well, day and a half to go, we already had the record right there, which is bonkers. And so one of the things that makes the Expo is everybody who comes to it. And that's everyone who comes to play a game. That's everyone who brings their kids along to play a thing for the first time. That's everyone who brings their mates or uses it as an excuse to meet up with their friends who they don't see otherwise in order to play some games here and then play the game that they've been playing for the last 10 years or whatever. It's all of our exhibitors who come along, make amazing space out of their stand, bring the most wonderful things for people to have a look at. I mean, we're walking past cardboard cutout stuff from Sarissa at the moment, and it's just the level of detail. And now we're on to looking at Big Potato Games. They have a van here. The reason they have a van, I believe, is because their stand got stolen one year. And they said, we've still got the van. We're like, is it branded? And they said, it's branded amazingly. So then they drive that in. And now we've got the children's role-playing area. And this is something that's expanded as well, because it started with you know what, we really need a way of the next generation having access to stuff.
Yeah.
And these are kids who might not necessarily come from gaming families. There'll be people who have looked at this, but because it's storytelling and because they're children, they don't know what they can't do.
Right.
So the adventures and the epic stuff they do is incredible, and the imagination is absolutely wonderful. And it's got bigger again this year, and we're going to have to give them a bigger stand again next year, I think. So, yeah.
And so what do you attribute it to? What's the big growth then?
So from an industry point of view, I think we have been growing since 2008, and board games and role-playing games and card games. So basically anything other than computer games is what we do. Everything has been growing because people are looking for value for money.
Right.
Ever since kind of the credit crunch and things, people want to know that if they're investing money in a thing, they get longevity out of it, it's fun, it's something they can play and replay, it's amazing social time together with people.
I mean, do you think there's a feeling that people want to step away from their screens for a couple of hours too?
Yes, very much so, although there are app versions of things, so that's the thing with the Expo, is that if you are bored of talking to people, you can go and play a thing on the app or on the thing, but it's mostly have you got time to play with people? And having a board games evening or a role-playing session or being able to grab a bunch of cards out for a bit and go through a bunch of games like that, it's quality social time spent. It's actually interacting with people. It's seeing the person in front of you and sharing a story together, because, you know, games are ways of sharing stories. And it's that wonderful thing, like when you're watching a film and you get this amazing moment of, is it going to work? Is it going to work? And when it fails, everyone's like, oh no, that was terrible. But when you win, that's also amazing, and it's a shared experience. And I think that definitely, after shared experiences, not being isolated on a computer, and also life is better playing together, right?
Right. And so, I mean, you took on the job basically in the run-up to, now I might be betraying my political leanings here, but to one of the greatest bloody disasters this country is going to see. Certainly the greatest in my lifetime. Have you found a reaction from the people who pay your wages, essentially the people who pay to get booths here, because it's not just British companies, it's also foreign countries. But has Brexit made people more cautious, more worried? Do you worry that when it eventually goes through, that there's going to be a reticence to come to the UK?
Well, our business, like everyone's, is obviously waiting to see what happens. But from an attendance at Expo point of view, we have 121 exhibitors not from the United Kingdom. And we have over 430 exhibitors here. So it's kind of about a third are from all over the world. So we've got 35 companies from America. I think there's 10 or more from Germany, about 9 or 10 from France. There's a company here from Ghana. My geography's rubbish. I had to look up where Ghana was. Yeah, it's in Africa. That's amazing. We've got people here from China. We've got people here from Taiwan. People here from Japan. It's absolutely astonishing, and all over Europe. And everyone is massively keen to reach the very motivated and enthusiastic UK gamers market, because we like playing games. People have got role-playing games they've been doing for decades. People love their board games. They'll try it and retry it again. They'll introduce it to other people. Card games and things, you can share that with folk. It's easy to take with you. It's easy to travel with. The dice games and things as well. Party games. Again, you're seeing this kind of stuff. And all of these are a wonderful way of spending time. And the fact that you have 121 exhibitors from all over the world coming to the UK Games Expo, that is very mighty indeed. We are extraordinarily blessed, I think, to have such a wonderful exhibitor group here.
But has anyone expressed a concern? Are we going to be able to come? Are they going to let us in? Is there going to be huge tax hikes? I mean, have you been fielding comments like that?
So we haven't specifically, but I know that a lot of the exhibitors, whether inside or outside of the UK, are waiting to see what's happening in terms of, we don't know if there are going to be tariffs or taxes, we don't know if we can get our stuff into the country, we don't know if we can get our stuff to Essen or to Gen Con or any of the other shows that are there. We don't know if we'll be able to supply things. It's all a little bit up in the air, and I think everyone is very much waiting to see what happens on the 31st of October and the shenanigans in between.
And that's not a hugely ironic date, is it?
Well, I don't know, they put Brexit with all the scary stuff, right? And that sort of makes sense. And there is actually a game by Wotan Games, and it's called Brexit.
Yeah.
It is apparently a cooperative game, although people have been laughing at that, I'm not sure. So yes.
And so I've got to ask you, because it was on the BBC website yesterday, and it was the talk of the whole convention. So there was an issue with a role-playing game where someone, I'm not going to get into the whys and wherefores of it, but someone introduced something that was inappropriate for the people around the table, let's say. What do you have to do when something like that happens? I mean, firstly, was it a huge pain in your ear end?
No. If there's an issue at the expo, it is never a pain. It is something that needs to be resolved. It is something that must be resolved fairly, and it is something that must be resolved to the best of everyone's ability. That sort of thing, no. What happened, and what we have to do, is we have to make sure that we interview everyone involved, find out what happened, and then we have to make a quick and just and fair decision. And our statement as to what happened with all that is on the website. And if you don't mind a gentle feedback on this, it wasn't actually talk of the expo. A lot of people here haven't seen stuff that's going on, they weren't aware of it. There was definitely chatter on social media, but we believe that this has been dealt with, and if anyone would like to see the statement, it is on all of our channels.
And so then what happens to the expo in the future? Where does it go from here?
So what we're looking for is more awesome things to be able to bring to the expo. And we do this by talking to our exhibitors, we do this by finding new exhibitors, we do this by expanding what the exhibitors can do here, because what we want is to produce the best show possible for the people to attend. We want to have a show that actually we want to go to. And I think we've got that. So I have a big list of things that I'd love to see here today. I've got a shopping list and everything. And this walk around with you, other than my crazy run around the halls and look at all this stuff, this is the first time I've actually got out to see the show, which is terrific.
And so do you see an upper limit on size? Is there a projection that once we hit 100k, no more? Or do you want to keep it like this for the midterm?
If we can keep producing a show that people want to come to, then we will keep producing that show. I think our limit is just the keenness of all the wonderful attendees of the UK Games Expo. If they no longer want to do the thing, well, that would be a shame. But honestly, the feedback we've had is just, this is amazing, this is my first event, I went for one day, I'm coming back tomorrow. That's a wonderful thing that we see. I only booked for a day, I'm coming back tomorrow. Or we were here for one day last year, we're here for 3 days this year. And that's a brilliant thing, because it means that there's so much to do here. Someone actually, I think it was at the end of last year, said, went for 3 days, definitely needed for 3 days, only got about half done, you know? And that's good, because we want to show that you don't feel that you've done everything, but you're keen to next year try it again, see more things again, and that's awesome.
Brilliant. Well, Kate Evans, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you indeed. All right, it's lovely to meet up with you.
So, almost at the end, UK Games Expo, and I'm with the ever fragrant and talented Michael Fox.
The effervescent.
Indeed.
The growly.
You seem pretty good this con. You seem in a better mood than you usually are.
I'm full of drugs.
Right,
as always.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's been, my voice, yes, it may be rickety, but my spirits are high. It's been a very good show.
And mostly you've been demoing Mega City Oceania, right?
Now you say that mostly. I have only been demoing Mega City Oceania.
You're such a liar. We took a 5-minute walk around the halls at some point.
A literal 5-minute walk around the hall yesterday as I was on my way to the bathroom.
Right, exactly.
So it's like, the moments of time I've had away from the booth, those snatched moments of glory.
But how's it been? How have people received it? I mean, I've just played the game and I think it's great. How have people received it?
Pretty much, okay, you know me, I don't deal with compliments too well.
Right.
But it's been almost like universally positively received. Like even like the people who would potentially like have some issues with it, say, so people are going, oh, I'm really, really clumsy, or oh, I've got really, really shaky hands. You know, they sit down, they play for a little while, and they realise that because of the rule set that I put together for it, they can play and they can win.
Right.
You know, you're actively encouraged to build as glamorously and as exotically as possible. You know, build for, reach for the skies, build tall. But you can viably win just by building simply and, just playing to your strengths. Because while other people are trying to race to build these huge tall skyscrapers, you putting in these lovely little sort of squat buildings that, just about hit the minimum height, that just hit the requirements. And you've done 3 buildings in the time that they've taken time to build one big monster. It's just been lovely.
And I mean, so you've demoed this at different cons, right?
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything particularly about the British people that lends themselves to this kind of game, or doesn't lend themselves to this kind of game?
They certainly lend themselves to a lot more. What's our language rating on this one?
No, go for your life.
There's a lot more piss taking around the table. So the first time this got a public viewing was at PAX East a couple of months ago in Boston, in Massachusetts, and the games that we played, it was rather cutthroat, I suppose.
Yeah.
But with a polite veneer, traditional American. And there you go. That's me banned. And it was very much people wanted to win, and a little bit of light-hearted banter around the table. Here in the UK, it's almost like people don't really care that much about the winning. The fun is the building, the playing, and the definite taking the piss out of each other as you go on.
Yeah, I think it's a game that lends itself to the journey being the destination.
Very much so.
To a large degree, because you're building the things. And the thing is, you don't want people to do the actions because it's quickly. Because like, fuck off, I don't want to do my actions. I want to finish my building, right?
Yeah, because you're only allowed to build when it's not your turn.
Yeah.
You kind of want the game to slow down. You kind of want to have that sort of considered time to be able to make the building the best that it can be. And that's actually an intentional design decision. You want this sort of like chilled out experience. We actually mentioned it a little bit in the rules. Like if someone needs a few extra seconds to finish off a building, give them that time.
Right.
Because you inevitably are going to need it yourself later down the line. So it's almost like we've like got inbuilt courteousness in the game. And it's very different to so many other dexterity games out there, so many other city building games out there, because you are just building this unique thing that will never exist again.
Right.
The combination of people, pieces, the combination of the contracts you get, every single time a city is finished, it's another snapshot of life. I'm getting very philosophical at the end of this show, man. I apologise.
Well, that's what drugs do to you, mate.
It's true.
But you designed it with Jordan Draper, so what did Jordan do?
So Jordan is obviously probably best known for the Tokyo series of games that he's done. One of which, from the first set of 3, was Tokyo Jitaku.
Right.
And if you look at the pieces that we have here, of course, on our audio medium, you will see that they are rather reminiscent of the Jitaku pieces.
Right.
So in Jitaku, I think there are 60 different pieces, all made of wood, maybe even a little more. In Megacity, we took 25 of those pieces, turned them into plastic, made them a little bit sort of like less sharp-edged, I guess is the best way to say it. We've got a few more rounded corners, that kind of thing. Make them more friendly to building. So when we first saw Jitaku, it was just like, oh, this could be like a really, really cool building game. But the idea behind Jitaku is very much about speed.
Right.
It's about building speedily and about building flat. Whereas with Megacity, we wanted something that was more about taking the time, but also building tall.
Right.
And here we are. And also obviously Jordan had input on other things, so like how the parks would work. Parks will bestow bonuses on buildings around them if they have statues in them, that kind of thing. But it was a lovely sort of like back and forth experience. We'd catch up on Skype every couple of weeks, emails back and forth about what was going on. He had a lot of saying like how the final product looked as well.
I mean, it is kind of like a real-time game, but it's a real-time game without that feeling of oh god all the time. Right?
Yeah. I mean, you saw it there at the end of the game. We had a couple of players who, on the final round, were thinking about adding in their final buildings, like these giant landmark buildings that are not necessary, they're not mandatory, but if you manage to get them in, they will swing things in your favour points-wise. And it took about, let's say, I'm going to say it's probably like a good solid 3, maybe 4 minutes for the last player to get their building from their corner of the table into the city. And we're talking 30 centimetres.
Right.
But everybody was watching.
Absolutely.
Everybody was compelled. Everybody was like, almost like egging them on. Even though they knew that this would give that player like a very, very significant points boost. But because it's just sort of like, you want other people to do well, because at the very end of the game, it's just going to look really cool.
Yeah, you're building the city communally, even though you're going for points on your own.
Yeah.
So what do you expect from this then? What are you hoping for?
I think you asked me this last year with Holding On.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Michael's hubris, it will always get the better of you. I want people to play.
Yeah.
I think we sit down, we play games, and when we say we play games, it's often like we work out mathematical equations in our heads, and it's like, why not just sort of like sit down and play with stuff for a while? Like anytime we're playing something like Agricola, like anything that's got like resources or whatever, it doesn't matter who you are, you're always going to be stacking things on top of each other. Stacking your coins on top of each other, stacking your meeples on top of each other. And with the pieces, you're sort of like, it's almost like you're encouraged to play. You're encouraged, this is a gamification of that almost.
Right.
And I just want people to just enjoy this rather chilled out experience. It's quite a positive setting for the game. It's 80 odd years in the future. We're off Australia's Gold Coast. We've developed this brand new, beautiful technology that lets us build on floating platforms on the ocean. It's Technicolor.
I mean, you don't
bright.
see the rest of the world, which is in flames.
Yeah, we're literally just sort of like the final outpost of good humanity.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just wanted it to be like a snapshot of goodness. I mean, okay, one of the weirdest influences for this game is, remember the old arcade game, Outrun? The old Sega one?
Yes.
Beautiful music, blue skies. That was a big inspiration for me, because, like, you know, a world where nothing else really matters for a couple of minutes.
Right.
It's just look at the blue skies, look at the blue ocean, and just
which is different from Holding On, right? Which asks you to confront, you know, pretty serious human landmarks, right?
And, you know, it's not that I'm going, right, Holding On is now done and that's in the past, and, you know, I'm only ever looking to the future, because, you know, Holding On is always going to be in my catalogue of games now, and it's always there. But I think I wanted to show a little bit that I'm not just going to make really narrative-driven stuff about the old man dying in the hospital bed.
Right.
I can make fun stuff too.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, I'm going to let you get some well-earned rest.
And a drink, that'd be nice.
And a drink would be lovely. And Michael Fox, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ben. As always, wonderful.
And here I am, Monday morning, after the UK Games Expo, and I'm sat in Liverpool Airport because I got here incredibly early, like I always do to every flight, because I'm from the countryside and I don't understand machines, so I get very paranoid. But yeah, what a weekend. It was absolutely fantastic. I got to spend a lot of time, I shared a room with Isaac Shalev, and it was really nice to, you know, spend time with him. And that was kind of the theme of the weekend, I think, more or less, was that I was spending time with people who I knew on the internet but hadn't really met in person, a lot of them American. And it was really nice, you know, because you see them on Instagram, you see them on Twitter, and you get an impression of what these people are like. And the wonderful thing about social media, the wonderful thing about getting to know people, is that you've kind of done the awkward, you know, getting to know them initial small talk bit already over the, you know, last few months or years when you've been speaking to them on Twitter. You know. And that's the thing, a lot of the sort of European-based, especially sort of UK-based people, I've met them. But the Americans are really hard, and now the UK Games Expo is getting bigger and bigger, and a lot of Americans are coming over, and it's becoming a date on the calendar. You get to meet them too, and not as many as I guess as if I went to America. And a lot of people were saying to me, you know, if you're in America, you're welcome, and all of this, which is wonderful. I don't see it happening for ages, but that's something I would really love to do too. And yeah, it was a thoroughly great weekend. I ate terribly, I drank too much, but you know, of course, that's all part of it. And one thing I didn't do was play really many games. And I was sort of elucidating this to a lot of people over the weekend, because quite frankly, I game a lot, and I have a great game group where I am. And so I don't need to play games. It's not like I'm going somewhere to play games. I go to meet people and sit in bars and chat and, you know, be inappropriate and all of those things and have arguments, and it was great. I mean, there were highlights of the weekend. So Craig Andrews is a great guy from England who I met before. We spent a lot of time in the pub, chewing the fat, you know. I mean, me and Isaac stayed up late into the night discussing things, the nature of religious belief. I was very much combating this idea of a puritanical society which has sort of taken over America, and we would sit in the bar and argue and then take it up to the room and do it for an extra 2 hours. Uli Blennerman was there, he's always a joy. Tony Boydell was there, he's always a joy. I met Kathleen Mercury for the first time. And, you know, people I'd interviewed on the show, of course, you never meet them because it's all done over Skype. And the internet is a wonderful thing for bringing people together, but there is no substitute. This is what conventions are. There is no substitute for getting together face to face and seeing those people in context, the way they move, the way they talk, the way their eyes flicker, all of this, the internet will never quite do it. Even Skype and FaceTime and all of those things will never quite replace that thing of being sat opposite a person and talking to them. It's a wonderful thing. And yeah, I had a really good time this year. I got to see Liverpool win the Champions League. I got to celebrate that with, Ignacy and a few people. There was one unfortunate, Gavin Birnbaum, designer of QE, unfortunately was a Spurs fan and was stood next to me, and I was being rather aggressive and uncouth. Of course, nothing happened. But yeah, and I enjoyed the Expo immensely this year, but I tempered my expectations. Because I'm not sure it's a great con for gaming. I'm not sure it's a great con for buying. But what it's a great con for, which is the most important thing, is getting together and meeting people. And yeah, it seems to me that the games bring us together, but they're not absolutely central to getting on with people and chatting to people. And that's why I never play games at Essen, and I didn't play games at the UK Games Expo. And there are certain cons where games are vital, I'm going to this thing. I got a Tony Boydell's thing in November, followed by Dan Hughes's thing in December, and they're about playing games, about chatting too, but fundamentally they're about sitting down and playing games. But the people people you've talked to before. Whereas these big things, especially as I find the whole just incessant noise, because you walk in and it's just noise right from the beginning. I find that exhausting, and I can't multitask that well. And so what's wonderful is the human contact, and that's my takeaway. And so, should you go to the UK Games Expo? I think you absolutely should. I think you should. It's not Essen, but certainly what it is a great place to go, meet people, have a laugh. And I played Mega City Oceania from Hub Games, and it's a really nice idea. They have this real notion, I think, about playing games that sort of bring you together, that are 360 experiences as opposed to staring down at the board. I love Eurogames, so I have no issue with multiplayer solitaire. I have no issue with just sitting there and thinking. But this one is a combination of there are decisions to make, there are points to be scored, but it brings in a dexterity element, which really works. It brings in a real-time element, but it's real-time without the stress. It's real-time without a clock. It's dependent on the players. And I felt it really worked. One thing I would say is the game doesn't come with a playmat. We played with a playmat, and I found the playmat hugely vital to the gaming experience, and hopefully Hub Games will sell those along with it. And yeah, so UK Games Expo, should you go? If you're in America and you're just going for a laugh. I forgot to say, because he'll probably be listening, I met Dave Moser, who did just come over from America. I think he was on holiday before, but he's been to 2 games. He's from America, he's from San Diego, which is the west coast of America, which is objectively miles away. And he's been to 2 games conventions in his life, and they were both the UK Games Expo, which blows my mind. And it was really lovely to see Dave. He sort of wanted to meet me, and he did. And I hope I wasn't an horrendous human being. And so, yeah, UK Games Expo is a really nice experience with really nice people. And I'd become incredibly... Britain had become...
Urgent call for passengers Douglas.
So it's a passenger announcement. Douglas, Nuttall, Martin.
Travelling on his jet service.
And they're going to...
635 to the Isle of Man.
They're going to the Isle of Man.
Please proceed immediately to gate 9.
They're being told to rush. Now I'd imagine they're not very fit, so it's going to be a difficult run to the gate. Fingers crossed they make it. But yeah, England had become a very toxic place for me since Brexit. And I hadn't been back often. And something like the UK Games Expo puts a nicer sheen on something, and you realise that people aren't terrible, and you can't characterise a whole nation as bad, I guess. And so, yeah, I would go to the UK Games Expo. It's a lot of fun and a very valuable experience. And yeah, thank you for listening. And you can support the show if you find this stuff sort of valuable. I can only go to conventions with the help of my patrons. Oh, and of course, I'd like to thank Mark Spector at I'm really good at this, by the way. I'd like to thank Mark Spector at Grand Gamers Guild for helping me with accommodation. I wouldn't have been able to go without him. I wouldn't have been able to go without the backing of my patrons. You facilitate this sort of work, and if you'd like to back the show, I would be eternally grateful. As well, firstly, I think it's more than worth it. I think the work I do holds a unique place in this industry in terms of quality, in terms of endeavour, in terms of work. And I want to continue doing it. And that is down to Patreon, unfortunately, because that's the way the world is. Money is tight. So if you can help, that would be amazing. And you can go to patreon.com/5G4D. And yeah, thank you very much for listening to this. And till the next one, which the next big con I go to, probably Essen, but I might do something from the Berlin con, and I'll probably go to the Spiel des Jahres awards ceremony and have a chat with people there. So anyway, thank you so much for listening, and au revoir.